Are you finding it more and more difficult each and every day to survive out there in the USA, Canada, wherever you're at? Are you from a Latino household, or perhaps, you speak some Spanish, know the culture, or are well versed in what it means to, grow up Latino or Hispanic simply because, you might have it in your blood, or again, you're surrounded by it or have grown up around it? Are you tired of just everything going on in the USA right now, again, or wherever you're at, and are you looking for a solution, and you just want to live a normal life, perhaps raise a family and just do normal human things? Well, guess what? You're in luck. You can come back to your home country, or you can simply go to a place like Mexico. That's right, Mexico. So I know a lot of you guys out there in the audience, that are Latino. Well, I know a lot of you guys can go back to your home country and some of you guys can't. For example, I'm Cuban. I definitely can't go back to Cuba. Some of my Venezuelan friends can go back to Venezuela, and I can go on and on. But there's a lot of you guys out there, perhaps Mexicans in my audience, or perhaps, Puerto Ricans. Well, maybe not Puerto Rican.
Bruh.
But, someone like in the Dominican Republic, or, any other country out there that's in Latin America that's in pretty good shape, like El Salvador, give or take. You can go back to your home country and be an extreme success and get away from everything that's going on in the USA right now. And, for a lot of you guys that, again, you might not have any hope because you come from a Cuban household or a Venezuelan household or a Puerto Rican household, and perhaps going back to your home country isn't a real option. So you're looking for another option, and here you are with Mexico. That's right. Mexico is actually a pretty awesome country, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. Not just the awesomeness of what Mexico is. There's tons of YouTubers and videos out there on that subject. But in this video, we're basically just going to talk about the advantages that you're going to have coming out here to Mexico, or your Latin American country of choice. So with all that being said, hey guys, welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the fact that, hey, if you're Latino, if you speak Spanish, or you grew up in some sort of Latino Spanish household neighborhood, and you're familiar with the customs and familiar with everything about living in the hood, the neighborhood, el barrio, whatever you want to call it, you have a huge advantage when it means coming to a place like Mexico, or, again, your Latin American country of choice. There's a lot of them out there that are doing pretty good and are going to be doing a lot better in the years to come. I mentioned Mexico because, well, in this channel, for any new viewers out there, I live in Merida, Yucatan, Mexico, which is all the way in the southern tip of Mexico, where all the beaches are, the Cancuns of the world, the Caribbean and all that good stuff. The most of Mexico, they live up in the mountains, they live in other parts of Mexico, but I chose to live out here. Well, actually, if you want to know why I chose to live out here, you can check out the rest of my channel, check out my story, and find out exactly why I live out here and how I ended up here. And believe it or not, it's going to be a similar story and a similar situation to, the things that we're going to be talking about right now. Because the sad reality is that I was born in the USA. I'm an American citizen, like most people out there that are watching these videos. Or, some people might be Canadian citizens or citizens of another country, perhaps in Europe or what have you. But what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of people in the audience that are basically, children of immigrants. First, second, maybe 3 generations. But, typically, the people watching this are just a few generations in. And, again, our parents or grandparents came to the USA to achieve the American dream, or, again, escaping hardship or whatever the situation was. And after a few generations, well, guess what? The tides have turned, and now the hardship is actually happening in the USA or Canada, or again, wherever you're at. And you look back at your home country, in a sense, or the country of your parents or your grandparents, and you look at it from far away, and you're like, man, I wish I was there. Well, that's what this episode is about, is to really basically encourage you guys to go there, especially if you've already been thinking about it, if you've already, have it on your radar. If, again, your situation in the USA is only getting worse and worse and worse. And, when I was first talking about the things I was talking about in the intro, I wasn't talking about the fact that, a lot of people in the USA right now are having a very difficult situation. I'm talking about the fact that, a lot of Latinos, again, a lot of us, we come from very hard working families. We come from a different background, again, a very similar background to what you're going to find in Latin America, That's where we're from, obviously. But what I'm saying is that even us, with, all of the tools that we have at hand, we ourselves are finding it, extremely difficult to achieve that American dream in the USA. And so, as I've been living in Mexico, I keep getting constantly reminded that we're all Americans, because basically anyone on the American continent, no matter where you are, you're American. So, with that being said, well, guess what? The American dream can still be achieved, but perhaps for you, it might be in Mexico, it might be in El Salvador, it might be in, I don't know, whatever country, seems, best fit for you. But I think for a lot of people these days is going to be Mexico. And so, right now we're seeing a huge paradigm shift, when it comes to things like living in Mexico. Back, just like 15, 20 years ago, just like 5 years ago, things were a lot more affordable out here in Mexico when it came to dollars and when it came to the economy and a bunch of things. But for most people that would come to Mexico, it was very affordable. And now these days, it's not that affordable. And, we've talked about it on this channel multiple times, what has caused that. Basically, whether it's a US dollar or whatever currency you have in your home country right now, it is basically falling and losing value compared to the peso, which is only increasing in value and getting stronger. And so with that being said, well, guess what? If you are out there and you are just basically, trying to start a small business and in the USA or Canada and it's not working, or you're just trying to, work a regular job and it's not, again, not working, whatever it is you're trying to do, again, things are just not working. Well, guess what? Now you can move to another country, a country like, let's say, Mexico, in which, yes, for the typical American retiree, for example, it is getting, more and more expensive and very difficult for them to come out here and achieve that retirement dream. But guess what? For those out there that are younger and, are, more oriented to just, again, building a future for themselves, building a business or starting a family, whatever it is, a place like Mexico is looking, a lot more enticing each and every day. Because, not only is, we're going to talk about a lot of the factors as to what makes Mexico so enticing. But the reality is that there's a lot of young people out there in the world, And by young people, I mean anyone that's under retirement age. Anyone that's under retirement age, they still need to work. They still need to build a future in many cases, or continue, building their future. They need either a fresh start, or they need to, again, continue building upon what they're doing. And they're seeing that they're only treading mud where they're at right now. Again, USA, Canada, some parts in Europe. I got a wide audience of many people that watch these videos. But at the end of the day, if you're out there and you already speak Spanish, again, you don't have to be extremely fluent. As long as you speak Spanish, that's going to be a major hurdle that you have just overcome, and at the same time put you in a major position to take full advantage of everything out here in Mexico, because you might not understand, the Mexican language, or again, let's just say that you are an Argentinian background or of Cuban background, and you don't want to come to Mexico. Perhaps you want to go to El Salvador, you want to go to Nicaragua, I don't know, wherever you want to go. And the point I'm making is that, it's going to be a different dialect, a different version of Spanish, but you still know the language. You know most of the language, and whatever words that you might not know, whatever dialect or slang you might not know, you can figure it out real quick once you're there. Because I've been in Mexico 5 years already, and it's funny when I speak to some of my Cuban family and friends, and they laugh and I laugh, when I'm using a lot of Mexican, slang and words as opposed to the Cuban slang, and I gotta, bring it back to Cuban, and it's a whole thing. But all I'm saying is that is a major advantage, and don't be thinking, especially if your Spanish is not that well, that you're not gonna be able to really use it out here. Are you kidding me? You know the language. That is a major component to really having a successful transition out here to Mexico. Another thing, besides speaking the Spanish, that is going to really be able to allow you to really integrate and understand everything. And the thing is that, again, even if you have basic Spanish, but again, Spanish, you grew up around Spanish in one shape, form, or another. Once you're out here and you're surrounded by it, it's going to make it so much easier. Because even my Spanish, was lacking, when I got here. Not that it was not lacking. I was really good. I speak Spanish to my family. I always have. But I mean, it definitely could have improved. And guess what? It has. Ever since I've been in Mexico, my Spanish as a whole has improved exponentially. And my God, that has helped me so much in so many other things besides, just the day-to-day life out here. So the same thing with you. Don't worry about your level of Spanish. You'll be able to, make it work. And again, the longer you're here, the better it's going to go for you. Now going back to, other things, like, for example, let's say that you're a poor immigrant child, or you're of a poor immigrant family, and you've already kind of grown up, living that life, living again within a close family structure, learning a lot of the things that come from, the conservative, religious type background, that comes from being in a Latino, Hispanic household. Well, guess what? Once you come to Mexico or whatever Latin American country you choose, it's every household. Everyone is like that. It's not just a select few people or certain neighborhoods. No, the whole country, the whole continent, for the most part, is, all the way down, from Mexico down, is, that way. So you're going to find it a very welcome change, being able to get back to those roots. It's so awesome. The fact that, I've been able to, again, reconnect with those, again, family roots. And it's just amazing. You have no idea until you're out here and what it really means. And what do I mean by that? Well, again, it's just simply put that, having a family out here is not looked upon as a bad thing. Is looked upon as a great thing, a normal thing, an everyday thing that everyone does. Being able to, hold hands, show affection, just being regular human beings out here is something that once you come out here, you realize, oh my God, finally I feel at home. Because for a lot of people out there, again, me included, I just speak from experience and from other experience of other people similar to me that have made their way out here. The fact that, when you're growing up in the USA, there's always like a huge disconnect, with the culture, the customs, and just like everything about what it is to like live in America, be American. Because the reality is that, we're immigrants. And for the most part, again, anyone out there that speaks Spanish, even people that are Mexican and have been living in, let's say, New Mexico or California for generations, even before those areas were part of the USA, for a lot of you guys still have a lot of those Mexican customs and just everything. And it's for whatever reason, you don't fit in with the USA. So I'm just talking about, like, there's so many people out there that just don't fit in with a lot of the things that are going on in the USA. And as soon as you come out here, you quickly realize, oh, wow, I finally feel at home. I finally feel at peace. I finally feel, wow, everything is right in the world again. And so, for a lot of people, that alone is a major reason why they're choosing to come to Mexico and restart their life in Mexico and, bring their whole families out here, work for Mexican companies, assimilate totally and fully. And a lot of the videos that I make on this channel are, geared towards expats, AKA foreigners coming from the USA, Canada, and Europe. And a lot of these, a lot of people in the audience, you guys don't even speak Spanish, or, you need to like learn Spanish. And that's like a whole hurdle, let alone the culture and let alone like all these other variables. But, I keep forgetting. And this is why I'm trying to emphasize this a lot more in some of my future videos like this one, is the fact that there's a lot of people, tons of people out there in the audience like me, all right, that speak very well Spanish, grew up in a Spanish household, grew up in a Spanish neighborhood, everything. Again, I grew up in Miami. I grew up with everything being Cuban, just Cuban, Hispanic, Latino. My first girlfriend was from Nicaragua. My sister's husband is from El Salvador. So, I'm very well assimilated to not just, my Cuban culture, but Latin American culture as a whole. So when I started traveling around the USA, and I really didn't fit in. I was like always yearning for what I missed, from back home, what I grew up with and all that other stuff. And, obviously I didn't want to go back home. Miami is expensive and it has its own issues, out there. And by the way, I love the 305. I love Miami. I love my home. I love everything. But just being honest, it's not somewhere I would want to live right now for too many reasons. And so the reality is that me coming to Mexico and being able to fit into Mexico and actually fit in here more than I did back home, because Miami, unfortunately has already become extremely Americanized. I know Miami's always been part of the USA, America. But, if you were there many years ago, it was as Hispanic and Latino as it can get, meaning it was just straight up, another country. And it still is in many aspects. But the reality is that, for me, I have my reasons, for not being there and wanting to be here instead. And it's simply because of the quality of life, just that I can live a way better quality of life out here that I'm not going to be able to achieve in the USA, Miami. It doesn't matter where I'm at. And I can achieve here, and that's simply the case. And that's the reality of it. And so, it's not just about the cost of living, but it's, again, the quality of life, the fact that I can access, any kind of medicine that I want out here, not any kind of medicine that is practiced out there, if you know what I'm saying. I've talked about in other episodes, the fact that, I have access to not just, better healthcare, better quality of life, better food, better culture, because, better, just everything around me, environment, meaning, everything I was talking about it earlier about the families and the couples, going out, and it doesn't matter how old they are, and just life, like, it's so family oriented. It's so Disney PG, even though it's not. We're in Mexico, everything is live and raw and indirect and right in your face. You see things out here that you're never going to see in the USA, or Canada, or wherever you're at. But at the same time, when it, on both ends of the spectrum. Okay, so basically good and bad, but it's mostly good. And that's the thing. Out here, for a lot of people out there, like I keep saying, a lot of people out there that are Latino, Hispanic, and they just don't see themselves fitting into the USA anymore. They're finding it more and more difficult each and every day. See no future for yourself. I can go on and on. You can simply move to another country, okay, that you are already pretty much accustomed to, because not only do you know the language, but the customs and all these other things, and then you're coming out here with all of this expertise, all this amazing expertise in whatever field you've studied in. On top of that, you come from a country like the USA, Canada, whatever, in which you already know it's just completely different than Mexico. Now, yes, there's plenty of parts of Mexico that are, way more advanced and just as advanced as the USA, Canada, Europe, Asia, what have you. But, the reality is that, Mexico is still in the beginning stages of the growth building, let's take this to the stratosphere, golden age period, okay? So with that said, you have a lot that you can take advantage of simply by coming out here and bringing your expertise in so many fields, whether it's, construction, technology, anything, you could just, food, I can go on, I get a million businesses, a million things, anything you could imagine, is needed out here. And what's really needed is the formalization of a lot of these things. Now, you know me, I love the informal business. I'm all about freedom, liberty, and all that stuff. But a lot of these informal businesses can still be formalized to make them run better, smoother, and more efficient for the benefit of everyone. And like I said, it's endless. Endless the amount of opportunity that you're going to be able to have out here and be able to really, embrace and be able to take a hold of and again take advantage of in the best way humanly possible that is going to benefit not just you but the local people of Mexico. Another factor I get asked about a lot, especially when it comes to again living out here in Mexico, Latin America, what have you, is it safe? And the reality is that in most parts, the majority of Mexico, I can't speak for Latin America because I've never really traveled outside of Mexico, but in Mexico, for the most part, a good majority of everywhere you're going to encounter is going to be a lot safer than wherever you're used to back home, especially if you grew up in the hood, the neighborhood, el barrio, any one of these places. You grew up poor, lower middle class. You know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. Yeah, no way. You know what I mean? It's going to be a lot more, easier for you to assimilate in that sense, in that fashion out here. Yeah, I know things might seem, scary, from, far away, and they might seem, very foreign because, well, they are, and different because, well, they are. But once you come out here, once you, again, just, get your feet wet, for lack of a better term, and you start, again, just doing your day-to-day out here, no matter what it is, even if you're coming out here as a tourist, you quickly figure it out that, my God, it's so much easier and it's a lot less scary than everything that you've heard and that you've been told. And the major danger that you're really going to have out here, in Mexico, in certain areas, that you'll be warned of, a lot before you even go there. Or even if you're not warned, again, it's not a big deal, is, maybe pickpocketing, maybe some sort of corruption where they're going to be, taking, some money. And that's it. You know what I mean? Nothing insane. No major kidnappings. You're not going to be in jail forever. You're nothing that it's the complete opposite. And again, speaking of things like authority, if you know Spanish and you know it well, then that's even, oh my God, you know what I mean? Because when it comes to dealing with police and authority figures and dealing with all of that, my God, this is going to be so much easier for you because you'll be able to communicate with them very clearly, know what to tell them, exactly, how to protect yourself from any kind of corruption or any kind of, weirdness that might come from, a bad cop out there. As opposed to in the USA where you having a Latino name, anyone named Gonzalez, Rodriguez, Adiaga, whatever, it's just not the same. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of it. You know what I mean? We don't get treated the same. We don't really care, talk about it too much. We just deal with it, But the reality is that, yeah, we get harassed by the police because our name is not Smith. It's not to say that Smith himself also doesn't get, harassed out there. But imagine how much more harassment, people like us get in the USA. And the fact that we really can't fight the system because we just know. You already know. I don't want to get into that. I made other videos talking about all that. But with all that being said, out here in Mexico, you really, really don't got to worry about any of that at all in that sense. You are, in full control when it comes to, again, your safety, your security, and all these other factors because, you'll be able to really, be able to interact with these police officers, interact with any one of these, people out there that might be, a threat to you or your family, and you'll be able to protect yourselves, in the proper manner without any problems at all. And I'm just basically talking about police and authority figures, and that's it. Because again, that is a major problem that a lot of people have to deal with in the USA, Canada, whatever, and you're not really going to be dealing with here at all. So again, that is also a big breath of fresh air. Another advantage that you guys have out there is the fact that things are just going to be cheaper for you. They're just going to be cheaper. And what do I mean by cheaper? Well, the fact again that you speak Spanish, so you can really haggle if you need to. You can really, again, talk to the people that might be, let's say, renting you a house, or selling you something or what have you, to be able to really talk to them firmly, be able to not just negotiate a price in some cases, but the fact that you know what you're talking about. They're not going to be able to do any kind of funny business. They might, again, look at you very differently. They look at you more like, again, someone that comes from whatever country you're coming from and not an American. If you don't let them know where you're really coming from, they don't know that. So if they're just looking at like a Colombian or, a Cuban or what have you, they're probably just going to think that that's what you are. So they're just going to probably treat you like another Mexican when it comes to the pricing and so many other things. And so the reality is that, when they know that you have a different kind of background, they're going to treat you differently. It's just human nature. So again, if you got a Cuban background, they're going to treat you a little different. It's like, oh, this guy's Cuban. Oh, this guy's Colombian. Oh, this guy's Venezuelan. Okay? And the good and the bad. You got to remember that, all these Latin American countries, they also have their rivalries and they know a lot more about each other than you, a gringo, from Minnesota is going to know, about, all of these Latin American cultures. So, and that goes the same for, like a Mexican. So when a Mexican just basically sees a white person and they say, oh, yeah, we're from the USA or we're from, we're from whatever country. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a water leak issue because, we're having some very hard rains out there right now. So again, and I apologize for any footage that you might have seen in today's episode that was full of rain. It's just that, again, we're in the middle of the rainy season right now. So, every once in a while in the afternoon, once a day, give or take, we have, pouring downpours, tropical storms, mini hurricanes that just drench everything, sometimes more than others. And so right now, again, I apologize even for some audio issues if we're going to have them, after we're done with this recording, because there's a storm going on out there. So right now it's like, why is my feet wet? And I'm like, oh my God, there's like some water coming in because it's raining sideways, as they like to say. You remember watching Forrest Gump, when it was raining from every direction? Yeah, it happens out here too. Okay, but anyways, I digress. Let's just get back to what I was saying about the fact that that you can simply save a lot more money out here than the typical immigrant or foreigner that's coming out here, because remember, Mexico has a lot of foreigners and more each and every day with all the things that are going on in the world, and more people than not are not going to Canada or the USA. They're also staying here. So let's say you're coming from India, you're coming from Africa, you're coming from some European country. You don't speak Spanish. You're at a major disadvantage. But if you're coming from, again, any Latin American country or any Spanish-speaking country, or you have some sort of language, proficiency in Spanish, in which you're Spanish already, you're going to be at a major advantage when you come out here. And like I said, you're going to be able to save a lot of money. That's why when I got here, even though, again, by the way, in case you're interested, you can see my whole story on my channel. I might link it at the end of this one. But that's why when I came out here many years ago, over 5 years ago, with just $1,500 to my name, after renting the Airbnb and all this other stuff. But still, I only had $1,500 to my name. But guess what? Not only did I have the language of Spanish in my trusty utility belt, but I had, things like survival skills, and I've been through the worst. I grew up in the hood, a lot of these things that I've already mentioned to you in today's episode. So a lot of these things, when I, since I already had all these things in my back pocket, when I arrived here, I was very, very, very well equipped to be able to deal with the major situation that I was in. Because again, coming out here with $1,500 is not a lot of money. All right. And, the fact that I was able to find a place and negotiate a place, that was very affordable and provided basically everything I needed. And then being able to, use my survival skills and other skills, that I grew up, that I grew up using in the hood, or just being accustomed to from growing up poor, which is if I had to eat hot dogs and a can of beans and just some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to survive on a daily basis, then I would do that. But guess what? Not only am I surviving, but I was thriving, and I was able to do whatever I wanted, and I was able to build basically a lot, and including everything you're looking at right now, a watch right now. So this video is, again, 5 years later of me making videos here, 4 or 5 years talking about all of these things. And, now is when it's, basically started to occur to me to talk about a lot of these subjects, which is, again, reach out to a good majority of the audience out there that is already Spanish speaking and used to, these customs and, used to just the family structure. You're just used to everything that is being Latino. And in fact, you're so used to these things that whenever you hear in today's world, when they're calling us Latinx or Latinx or whatever they're calling us, we just, that's it. That's like the last draw. And for most of us, and we're like, all right, we're out of here. We're out of here. These crazy people out here calling us, Latinx, what is it? That sounds like some, like a jungle cat or something. Anyways, whatever. The point I'm making is that, there's many reasons that we have, for wanting a solution to the problem that we have at the moment. And, everyone has a different problem that they're dealing with. But for the most part, moving to a country like Mexico, or your home country or wherever, will, create the, solution, as the answer to your said problem. The reality is that, we are living through a once in a lifetime opportunity right now. And if you are, Latino, Hispanic, you used to all that, you have more of an advantage, okay, over everyone else that is right now, trying to reach this or achieve this Mexican dream. So remember, yes, for a group of viewers out there, the Mexican dream of retirement is getting more and more difficult each and every day. But guess what? Mexico isn't just about retirement anymore. Mexico is about a completely different thing. And Mexico is growing into a major power on the economic stage. And, we've talked about this multiple times on this channel, and we're going to continue talking about all those factors that are making Mexico a mega power. And a lot of these other Latin American countries are now moving on up. They're not third world countries anymore, and things are just changing dramatically. And right now, you can find videos on YouTube, for example, where they're driving through the worst hoods in Tijuana, in Juarez, in what have you. And they're basically comparing it to, Philadelphia or San Francisco, or you name it. You name, the city, and you know what I'm talking about. And you see the drastic change right in front of your eyes, and you're like, oh my God, Philadelphia is a third world country. Oh my goodness, San Francisco has become worse than Mumbai, and all this other stuff. And then you're looking at and comparing it to, the most dangerous hoods in some of the most dangerous cities in Mexico in some cases. And you're like, hey, well, this isn't that bad. This is all right. And again, if you know anything about a lot of the things that are going on in some of these areas, again, as long as you're not getting involved with the wrong crowd, you got nothing to worry about. Now, I'm not suggesting to go move to the most dangerous areas of Mexico. Don't do that. There's a lot of very dangerous areas in Mexico right now. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of things going on in Mexico, just like every other country. But the reality is the majority of the country is not going through any of that. And the majority of the country is wide open to a lot of people out there that want to take full advantage of this, because it's happening whether you like it or not. This giant growth, this major change, when it comes to, the Mexican economy, the world economy, Latin America as a whole on the world stage, and I can go on and on. This is an unstoppable Pandora's box has already been opened, and this snowball is just going to keep snowballing and getting bigger. Just like the situations wherever you're at, Canada, USA, Europe, whatever, they're only going to get worse and worse. And so, look, I understand for an American, for example, that has been in the USA for generations. Their family probably came over on the Mayflower, for all crying out loud. Look, I get it. You're never going to leave, and you're going to fight to the death, whatever happens. All right. But there's a lot of people out there that just landed on Plymouth Rock the other day, a generation ago, tops. And they're Latino and they're Hispanic, and they see themselves, and they don't even recognize, what the U.S. is. And they definitely do not see themselves as American or anything that is going on in the USA right now. And in fact, they see themselves more like Cuban or Venezuelan or Argentinian or Mexican, or wherever you're from. You see yourself more as that, as American. You just happen to be American and happen to be born in the USA or Canada, and that's part of what makes you you, and you are that. But the reality is that when you're really comparing cultures, you are really a lot more, closely related to your actual culture than the U.S. American westernized, this whole culture, the things that are happening, right now. And so the reality is that, as these things keep getting worse and worse, you yourself are looking for a way out and a solution. And, there's nothing really kind of tying you down or holding you back to staying there. So why are you staying there? Why are you still there? That's the real question, and I get it. There's a lot, to deal with and take care of in order to just move to another country and reroute, pick up and reroute somewhere else and assimilate and everything else. And that's why I make these videos. That's why I do the things that I do on my channel, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are just looking for freedom, looking for a way out, looking for a solution, looking for a better life, looking for better quality of life. And they don't want to be debt slaves anymore. They don't want to live in that life anymore. They don't want to deal with any of that anymore. And they're just looking for a simple life, a family life, a normal life. And so with all that being said, guys, all right, I really do hope that today's video was helpful to whoever was watching it and whoever's watched it all the way to the end to where we're at now. Because what I try to emphasize on this channel is not just the fact that, there is a way out, but I also try to give you guys solutions and answers to all your problems. And I'm not, the smartest guy in the world. I'm not here. I don't have all the answers. I'm not trying to pretend like I do, but I'm just trying to do my part and trying to, again, make it easier for you so that you can make this transition and make this move and do whatever it is you got to do to, get the life that you want to live and you deserve. Okay, so with all that being said, guys, all right, I want to give a big shout out, all right, to all my subscribers out there. I know there's a lot of guys, a lot of people out there, guys and gals, all right, that watch my videos and are not subscribed at all right? In fact, like 50% of you guys are not subscribed, but it doesn't matter. You're watching the videos, you're hitting the thumbs ups, you're sharing the videos, all that matters, and I really, really appreciate it. And for all you guys that haven't subscribed, consider it. You can watch more of my videos and get more content like this. And for those that have subscribed, shout out to you. It doesn't matter how long you've been with me, whether it's been 1 day, 1 hour, or many years. I love you guys. Shout out to all of you. Thank you so much for everything. I appreciate you to the max. I want to give a big, super duper shout out to every single one of you guys out there in the audience that has helped produce this show in one shape, form, or another. Whether you just sent a few bucks, as a donation, whether you've asked me a question for me to answer for the whole audience. Again, if you want more information on that, please just check out in the description below. Check out my website so you can find out how you can also, contribute to the show, not just monetarily, but again, with information, by asking questions, and so many other ways, all right? And, again, we're just trying to build a community here and trying to help everyone out, trying to help each other out, and really provide a good fountain, a good foundation of information, and a good community of, people, of like-minded individuals out there that just want, to survive and live a better life out there. And that's basically it. Whatever, your life is, it doesn't really matter. You just want a better version of it. And we all do. All right. And hey, if that's what you want to strive for, then you should get it. So with all that being said, I think it's, a long enough episode as we do here. I hope you enjoyed everything. I hope you enjoyed the ride. I hope you enjoyed the rain. I hope you enjoyed everything. So if you did, you already know what to do. Don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit the bell icon. But more importantly than anything else, please stay awesome. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.